My chest felt like it was being crushed. 35 years old, and I thought I had it all figured out. Solid job, savings in the bank, a wife I adored, or so I thought. Now, staring at the peeling paint of the hospital waiting room, all I could ask myself was, how do you pick up the pieces when the person you trust most in the world rips everything away from you? Because that's exactly what Elise did. It started with the surgery. For 2 years, it had been my lifeline, my beacon of hope. This wasn't cosmetic, it was reconstructive. A chance to escape the prison of this chronic pain that had defined my adult life. Insurance wouldn't cover it. Fine. I'd bleed myself dry to pay for it. No vacations, no new clothes, no dinners out, just work, save, repeat. Elise, my wife, she'd been my rock. Or, again, so I thought. "We're in this together, Liam," she'd say, squeezing my hand as I struggled to get out of bed on my worst days. "Soon, you'll be able to live again. You'll see." She helped me budget, tracked our joint account, the one dedicated solely to the surgery, and even drove me to the countless pre-op appointments. She seemed so invested, so supportive, that she brought snacks and waited for me at every appointment. That's what kills me. I was so sure of her, of us, that I never once questioned her. The unraveling started the morning of the surgery. Waking up in the hospital pre-op room, groggy from the fourth was wrong. I should have been waking up from the surgery, not waiting for it. My stomach churned with a primal dread. A nurse, a kind-faced woman named Maria, entered, her brow furrowed. "Oh, you're still here?" she said, checking my chart. "What do you mean?" I croaked, my throat scratchy. Maria gave me that look, the one full of pity you never want to see directed at you. "Your surgery was canceled yesterday." The room seemed to tilt. "Canceled? By who?" My heart hammered against my ribs as I reached for my phone. Dozens of missed calls from the hospital's billing department. Confused and still feeling the effects of the sedation, I opened my email. A cancellation confirmation, sent yesterday. I didn't cancel anything. "Elise," I mumbled. "I need to call Elise." I frantically dialed her number. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Straight to voicemail. Something cold and sharp was blooming in my gut. This wasn't just a mistake. Something was terribly wrong. Half drugged and fueled by pure adrenaline, I pulled myself out of bed. I stumbled down the hallway, gripping the walls for balance, and found a phone. I punched in the hospital billing department's number. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe an insurance glitch. The woman on the phone, her voice professional and detached, delivered the blow that shattered everything. "Sir, the payment was reversed yesterday. Your account no longer has sufficient funds." Reversed? The bank transfer I'd set up weeks ago, the one I'd double, triple-checked, gone. Every single cent ripped away. My head swam. I logged into our bank account on my phone, my fingers trembling so violently it took 3 tries to enter the password. Balance, $0.00. My vision blurred. I scrolled through the transaction history, my breath hitching with each entry. A single withdrawal 2 days ago, $98,500, my entire surgery fund. Everything. I called Elise again, my voice cracking. "What's going on?" "The surgery was canceled. The money is gone." "Where are you?" Silence. Straight to voicemail. Panic clawed at my throat. Maybe she was in an accident. Maybe she'd been kidnapped. I dialed her parents' number, my hands slick with sweat. Her mom, Sarah, answered. "Liam? Is everything okay? Have you seen Elise?" "No," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Not since yesterday morning. Have you talked to her?" "No, not since last weekend." "Why? What's wrong?" That's when the first real wave of dread crashed over me. Elise wasn't missing. Elise had left. But why? I called an Uber, barely able to string together coherent sentences. The ride home was a blur of red lights and silent sobs. When I got there, My worst fears were confirmed. Her car was gone. Inside, the closet was half empty. Some of her clothes were missing. Her suitcase was gone. Her toiletries were gone. She had packed meticulously and left. I searched the apartment like a madman, tearing through drawers, overturning cushions, looking for a note, a clue, anything. Nothing! I sank onto the couch, the silence of the apartment deafening. The space where her things used to be was a gaping hole in my life. My hands were still shaking as I logged into our shared email account. Maybe there was a message, some kind of explanation. That's when I saw it. An email from 2 days ago. Subject, confirmation, luxury getaway. First-class flight to Miami. Luxury suite at a 5-star oceanfront hotel. 2 guests, Elise and Jordan. I froze. Who the hell was Jordan? My brain refused to process it. Maybe it was a business trip. A mistake. Anything but the truth that was screaming in my face. Driven by a sickening curiosity, I did something I knew I would regret for the rest of my life. I checked her Instagram. The first thing I saw was a photo posted just hours ago. Elise, lounging by a rooftop pool, cocktail in hand, wearing a swimsuit I'd never seen before. Sunglasses, brand new and expensive, reflected the sparkling ocean. The caption, finally free. Much needed escape. The photo wasn't a selfie. Someone had taken it. And when I clicked on the tagged name, my world shattered into a million pieces. Jordan's profile picture. A picture of him and Elise together, laughing, happy. While I was sitting in a hospital bed, alone, abandoned, broke, and about to lose my surgery because of her. That's when it hit me. She stole everything and ran off with him. A wave of nausea washed over me. I could barely open my banking app, but when I did, I saw more than just the missing $98,500. Elise had maxed out my credit card too. $6,400 at the same luxury hotel in Miami. $2,800 in a shopping spree at some high-end boutique I'd never even heard of. $1,500 dinner reservation for 2 at an exclusive restaurant. My last available credit limit, gone. I felt like I was going to pass out. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the screen, waiting for it all to make sense, waiting for a reason, waiting for an explanation, waiting for anything that didn't make me feel like a complete idiot. But no reason came. No explanation. No text. No call. No apology. Nothing. The woman who had held my hand in the doctor's office, who had told me we were a team, who had promised to be there for me after my surgery, had stolen everything I had worked for and left me to rot. I had no idea what to do next. After I discovered Elise had stolen my money and disappeared to Miami with another man, something inside me snapped. This wasn't just heartbreak. It was a visceral, burning rage. This wasn't just betrayal. It was war. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, smiling by a pool, drinking cocktails with my money, the money meant to save my life. I saw Jordan's smug grin, his arm around her as they laughed at me, the sucker. By morning, a cold determination had settled over me. I wasn't going to wallow. I wasn't going to be a victim. I was going to find her, and I was going to make her pay. I started with the reservation from the email, a 5-star beachfront resort in Miami, the kind of place that oozed wealth and exclusivity. I dialed the front desk, my voice trembling with forced calm. "Hi, I'm trying to surprise my sister, Elise. She's staying with you. Can you tell me if she's checked in?" The receptionist hesitated. "I'm sorry, sir, we can't disclose guest information." I gritted my teeth. "Of course not." "Fine. I'd do this the hard way." I booked a same-day flight to Miami. I didn't even think. I just acted. I barely packed a bag, didn't bother with a shower. I grabbed my wallet, phone, and a burning desire for revenge. By the time I landed, it was midnight. I was exhausted, emotionally drained and shaking with a mixture of anger and anticipation. I took a cab straight to the hotel, my heart pounding like a war drum. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know what I would do when I saw her. All I knew was she wasn't getting away with this. As the cab pulled up to the hotel entrance, I spotted a sleek black sports car parked out front. It looked ridiculously expensive, the kind of car you only see in magazines. Then I saw the man in the driver's seat. Jordan, Elise's new boyfriend. My hands clenched into fists. I walked straight up to the car, my footsteps deliberate, heavy. Jordan noticed me too late. By the time he rolled down the window, I had yanked the door open. "Where is she?" I growled, my voice low and menacing. Jordan looked confused, then defensive. "Who the hell?" Before he could finish, I grabbed his shirt collar and slammed him against the seat. "Where is Elise?" I repeated, my voice icy, my eyes burning into his. He shoved me back, but I didn't move. "Get your hands off me, man. What the hell is your problem?" I leaned in, my face inches from his. "My problem? You're sitting in a car paid for with my money. You're staying in a hotel paid for with my money. You're drinking cocktails by the pool while I was supposed to be in surgery because she stole everything I had." His face paled. "What?" That's when I knew Elise had lied to him too. He had no idea. He got out of the car and stared at me, realization hitting him like a freight train. "She told me she was single, that she was divorced. She said she had an inheritance." I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. "Yeah, that inheritance was my damn surgery fund." His face twisted with rage. He turned toward the hotel entrance, muttering, "Lying bitch." I grabbed his arm, stopping him. "Jordan." He looked at me, confused. "What?" "You're not going in there to yell at her," I said, my voice low. "You're going in there to get her phone." His eyes widened. "You think she scammed other people?" I nodded, my jaw tight. "I don't think I know. And that phone is going to prove it." For a moment, he hesitated, torn between anger and disbelief. Then his jaw tightened with renewed determination. "Let's do it." We walked into the hotel together, two men betrayed by the same woman, united by a thirst for revenge. Jordan used his keycard to access the elevator. My pulse roared in my ears as we rode up to her floor. When the doors opened, I saw her. Elise. She was standing in the hallway, wearing a silk robe that cost more than my entire wardrobe. She was scrolling through her phone, completely oblivious, without a care in the world, until she saw me. Her entire body froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief, then quickly hardened into defiance. "Liam?" I took a step forward, my voice calm, deadly. "You stole my money." Her eyes darted to Jordan, who stood beside me, arms crossed, his face a mask of fury. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice shaking. I laughed, a cold, humorless laugh that echoed in the sterile hallway. "That's funny because your little vacation here," I gestured around us, "is being paid for with my stolen credit card." Jordan shoved past me, grabbing her wrist. "Let me see your phone." She yanked away, her eyes flashing. "Get off me!" "Elise," I said, my voice like a razor's edge. "We know about the other men." Her face drained of color. "The hotel bookings, the credit cards, the fake inheritance." It was all crumbling around her. I took another step closer. "It's over." She tried to run, but Jordan was faster. He grabbed her purse and dumped it on the floor. Her phone clattered onto the tile. I picked it up before she could grab it. One look at the messages, and I saw everything. Bank transfers to unknown accounts. Texts to another man, promising she would be with him soon. A plan to flee to Europe using more stolen money. I turned the screen to her, shoving it in her face. "Explain this." She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had nothing. She had been caught, and for the first time, she realized she wasn't getting away with it this time. Jordan left her that night. He couldn't even look at her. He just kept muttering, "I can't believe I was so stupid." I walked out of the hotel with her phone, her financial records, and every single piece of evidence I needed to bury her. The next day, I filed for divorce, sued her for fraud, and froze every stolen account. Within weeks, her entire life collapsed. And the best part? She did it to herself. I sat in my silent, half-empty house, staring at my phone, waiting for reality to change. Maybe she would text. Maybe she would say it was all a misunderstanding. Maybe there was a logical reason for this, something that would make it all not what it looked like. But deep down, I already knew the truth. Elise had planned this, and I was about to find out just how deep her betrayal went. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, the woman I had trusted, the woman I had built a life with, smiling by a pool in Miami with another man. By morning, I knew I had to stop sitting in shock and start figuring out how bad the damage was. The first thing I did was check our shared bank account again. The money was gone, but what I hadn't noticed the night before was how she had taken it. She didn't just withdraw everything all at once. She had been siphoning money for months. $3,500 share, labeled as household expenses, $2,100 steer, listed as a medical bill, $5,000 transferred to an account I didn't recognize. And then the biggest hit, the full $98,500 withdrawal 2 days before my surgery. I felt sick. She had been stealing from me for months, and I never even noticed. Next, I checked my credit score. My stomach twisted into knots when I saw that it had dropped over 100 points. How? Then I saw it, a second credit card. I had never opened it. Elise had taken out a credit card in my name and maxed it out. I clicked on the details. $67,000. That's how much she had spent behind my back, using my name, my credit, my financial future. I scrolled through the transactions, my hands shaking, luxury designer handbags, $8,000 spa retreats, $3,200 expensive dinners at 5-star restaurants, $1,500 weekend getaways. I never knew about $6,400. She had been living an entirely different life behind my back. Then I found something worse. I noticed a string of hotel reservations dating back nearly a year. One of them, booked 3 months ago, was in the same city Jordan lived in. That's when it hit me. She hadn't just left me for Jordan. She had been cheating on me for months. The surgery money wasn't just an escape fund. It was a relationship slush fund. I stared at my phone, debating whether to call him. Jordan! I had never met him. Never even heard his name before I saw that damn flight confirmation. But now I needed to know who he was, what he knew. I searched his name on LinkedIn. A personal trainer in Miami. His Instagram was full of workout videos, flashy cars, expensive vacations. He wasn't just some guy, he was a walking cliché. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. One of his posts from months ago had a familiar hand resting on his shoulder. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but I knew that bracelet. I had bought it for Elise for her birthday last year. I clicked through his pictures, and there she was, hidden in the background of his life, my wife. I was still sitting there, trying to figure out how to breathe again, when my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. I picked up. Hello? A man's voice, hesitant. Hey, is this Liam? Who's this? I snapped, already on edge. A pause. Then, quietly, my name's Jordan. I nearly dropped the phone. Jordan, the man my wife ran off with. The man she stole my money for. Why the hell are you calling me? I growled. He sighed. Look, man, I had no idea she was married. I didn't believe him. Not at first. But then he started talking, and the things he told me made me realize Elise hadn't just lied to me, she had lied to him too. According to Jordan, Elise had reached out to him nearly a year ago on Instagram. She had liked one of his photos, and that's how it started. She told him she was single, recently divorced, that I was an emotionally abusive, controlling ex-husband. She said she had been trapped in our marriage for years, but now she was finally free to be herself. She told him she had money, a huge inheritance from her grandmother, enough for them to travel the world together. Jordan, being the idiot that he was, believed her. But, he said, something changed a few weeks ago. She insisted on paying for everything. She pressured him into this Miami vacation, saying it was her treat. And then the final red flag, when she told him she was moving to Miami permanently and wanted to buy a house with her inheritance. That's when Jordan got suspicious, he said. There was no grandmother, no inheritance. He confronted her a few days before they left for Miami. He asked her about her divorce. She changed the subject. He asked her about her family. She got defensive. He asked to meet some of her friends. She refused. He told me he was starting to feel like something was off. But by then, it was too late. She had already booked the flights and reserved the hotel room. Then she used my credit card to check them in. So he realized the gravity of his situation. During one of their stays, he found her phone while she was showering and discovered the truth. Text messages between her and me. Messages where I told her how excited I was for my surgery. Bank transfer emails, proof that she had stolen the money. Emails from the hospital confirming the surgery cancellation. That's when he realized what she had done. That's when he saw that she hadn't just left me. She had destroyed me. Standing in a hotel room in Miami, holding a phone full of evidence, he confronted her. And do you know what she said? She laughed. She laughed. And then she told him, "You don't get anywhere in life by playing it safe." Jordan left her that night. He said he was sorry, but for what? He was conned just like the rest of us. But before he did one last thing. He sent me every single piece of evidence he found. Bank statements, text messages, screenshots. Then he said, "I don't know what you're going to do, man, but whatever it is, make sure she pays." And I knew, right then and there, I was going to destroy her. I sat in the dark, my phone screen glowing in my hands, filled with every disgusting lie Elise had told. The texts, the bank statements, the stolen money, the fake inheritance, the surgery I lost because of her. Jordan had handed me everything. Proof that my wife wasn't just a cheater or a liar, but a full-blown con artist. And yet, the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was that she didn't care. She laughed when she got caught. She stole everything I had, left me in medical limbo, and when confronted, acted like it was nothing. I should have been furious. I should have been breaking things, screaming, losing my mind, but instead, I just felt empty. The next morning, reality set in. I still had no idea where Elise was, but I knew what I had to do next. Figure out the full extent of the damage. I called my bank first. They confirmed what I already knew, our joint account was empty. Then I pulled my credit report. And that's when I realized how much deeper this betrayal went. Elise hadn't just drained our savings. She had taken out loans in my name. A $150,000 personal loan, opened a year ago. A $5,000 cash advance from a credit card I didn't know existed. And the worst, a secret second credit card with a $30,000 limit, maxed out. Total debt, over $185,000. And I had no idea, because she had all the statements sent to her email. She had been planning this for a long time. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment getaway. This was premeditated fraud, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it. At this point, I knew Elise wasn't coming back. She had disappeared, taken everything, and had no reason to return. But I still needed more proof, so I started looking deeper. She had left her laptop at home, probably assuming I wouldn't think to check it. She was wrong. The first thing I did was check her emails. I expected to find conversations with Jordan, maybe more messages lying about me, telling him I was some horrible, controlling ex. But what I found was so much worse. Hotel bookings dating back 9 months, luxury purchases made in different cities, emails from multiple men, different names, different conversations, all the same pattern. Elise wasn't just cheating on me with Jordan, she was cheating on him too. And not just him. There were others. One guy in New York, another in Los Angeles, another in Dallas. She had been living a double life for almost a year. Each man thought he was the only one, and each time she used my money to fund it. A few nights later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. I picked up. "Hello," a man's voice, angry. "You don't know me, but I think we have a mutual problem. Who is this?" I asked, my entire body going cold. "Name's Adam. I just found out my girlfriend is actually your wife." Another one. Adam was one of the other guys. And when I told him who I was, there was silence, then a string of curses. He was just as shocked and hurt as I was. He told me she said she was single. They were planning a trip to Cabo next month. He had no idea she was married, no idea she was seeing multiple men. And when he checked his credit cards, he found something even worse. She had convinced him to co-sign a lease for an apartment in his name. She had planned to move in with him. And then, the kicker, she had asked him to take out a loan, $10,000, because she was starting a business. The same business she had already scammed Jordan with. She was playing all of us. We weren't the only ones. At this point, Elise had fully disappeared. Her car gone, her phone turned off, her social media completely deleted. But I still had one way to find her: a private investigator. It felt extreme, but at this point, I needed to serve her divorce papers. She had stolen nearly $200,000 from me. If I didn't track her down, she would keep destroying lives. It only took 2 weeks for the investigator to find her. She wasn't in Miami anymore. She was in New Orleans, living in an Airbnb under a fake name. And guess what? She wasn't alone. She had already moved on to another guy. The moment we found her, I had her served with divorce papers. She didn't even look surprised. Her response? "Do whatever you want. I don't care." She didn't show up for the first court hearing, didn't respond to my lawyer. She was still trying to run, but this time I wasn't letting her escape. With my lawyer's help, I filed a lawsuit for fraud to recover my stolen money, a restraining order to keep her from trying to manipulate me again, a credit dispute to remove the debts she had taken out in my name. And then I exposed everything. I was done protecting her secrets. I told the truth. I posted screenshots of her texts, bank statements, and messages from all the men she scammed. I sent the evidence to her family. I told our mutual friends. I even sent it to her last employer, just in case she tried to do this to someone else. The fallout was instant. Her friends abandoned her. Her family cut ties. The guy in New Orleans kicked her out. Within a week, Elise went from living in a luxury hotel to sleeping in her car. And for the first time in months, I felt like I was getting my life back. A month later, she tried one last trick. She emailed me, "Marcus, the first made a mistake. I was lost. Let's talk." No apology. No regret. No remorse. Just a pathetic attempt to crawl back. I didn't even respond. I blocked her email, and that was the last time I ever heard from her. The divorce was finalized. The fraud case was moving forward, and slowly I was rebuilding my life. She had taken everything from me, but in the end, she lost. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be hiring a private investigator to track down my wife, suing her for fraud, and exposing her to the world, I would have laughed in your face. But here I was. Elise had vanished into thin air after stealing nearly $200,000 from me. My surgery fund gone, my credit destroyed, my future left in shambles. I had spent weeks picking up the pieces, uncovering the horrifying reality that she hadn't just scammed me, she had played multiple men at the same time. But what really kept me going, what fueled me when I felt like I couldn't take another step, was knowing she thought she got away with it. She hadn't. I wasn't done with her yet. After my investigator found her hiding out in New Orleans, I had her served with divorce papers. She barely reacted. "Do whatever you want." "I don't care. she said before slamming the door in the server's face. That alone told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't scared. She wasn't sorry. She didn't think she'd face real consequences. I was about to change that. With my lawyer, I filed a full lawsuit against her for fraud and identity theft. If she thought she could just disappear and move on with her life without paying for what she did, she was dead wrong. While waiting for the legal process to play out, I decided to do one last deep dive into her life. I had already discovered she had opened multiple credit cards in my name, taken out fraudulent loans, been cheating on me with multiple men, stolen nearly $200,000, and spent it on luxury vacations and designer items. But something still didn't sit right. I knew Elise was a liar. I knew she was a scammer, but I needed to know how deep this went. So I reached out to her former friends, old co-workers, and even some distant family members. The things they told me chilled me to the bone. I wasn't the first person she did this to. One of her old friends, Jessica, told me Elise had a history of screwing people over. In college, she convinced a roommate to let her use her credit card for emergencies and never paid her back. She stole money from an ex-boyfriend's business and then dumped him before he found out. She lied about having a job for months while secretly using someone else's credit card to fund her lifestyle. Her entire life was one long con, and I had been her biggest victim until now. The moment my lawsuit against her went public, everything imploded for Elise. First, the credit card companies flagged the fraud. Then, her bank accounts were frozen due to my claims of unauthorized transactions. Then, the apartment lease she conned another man into co-signing was voided, leaving her homeless. And the final blow, her latest boyfriend in New Orleans found out everything and kicked her out. She had nowhere to run, and for the first time, she was the one suffering the consequences. A week later, she did the one thing I never expected. She reached out, not to apologize, not to admit she was wrong, not to take responsibility. She tried to flip the script. I got an email from an unknown address. Subject, "We need to talk." The message read, "Marcus, I know you're angry, but I think we should talk. I've been going through a lot, and you don't understand the full story. I was in a dark place, and I made mistakes, but I never meant to hurt you. You always worked so much. I felt alone. I felt trapped. I just needed a way out. You wouldn't have understood. Please, can we just talk?" I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even hate. Just nothing, because I knew what this was. She wasn't reaching out because she was sorry. She was reaching out because she had no money, no home, and no one left to manipulate. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded it to my lawyer. Let her feel what it's like to be abandoned. Let her know I was done playing her game. A part of me still wanted justice, but another part of me wanted something else. I wanted the world to know what she had done. So I did the one thing she never expected. I exposed everything. I posted the entire story online. I included screenshots of her fraudulent transactions, bank statements showing every dollar she stole, proof of her cheating, her lies, and her manipulation. And then, I sent the same information to her family, her former employers, and anyone else who needed to know who she really was. And just like that, her reputation was destroyed. No more rich boyfriends. No more luxury hotels. No more easy escapes. For the first time, Elise had to live with the consequences of her own actions. In the months that followed, I slowly started putting my life back together. My credit was repaired. My fraud claims were approved, helping me recover some of the stolen money. My divorce was finalized. And thanks to a loan from my family, I was finally able to reschedule my surgery. It wasn't easy. There were nights I still lay awake, replaying everything, wondering how I had been so blind. But then I remembered, this wasn't my fault. I had loved someone who was never real. Elise had never been my partner. She had been a professional liar. And now, She had nothing left. Months later, after everything had settled, I got one final message from her. A text from a new number. I miss you. I made a mistake. Let's talk. I laughed, deleted it, and never looked back. She took everything from me. But in the end, I won. Because for the first time in a long time, I was free. The fraud case against her was moving forward, and with my lawyer's help, I was able to recover some of my stolen money. More importantly, I had rescheduled my surgery. My family stepped in to help with the costs, and I was finally getting the medical care I had sacrificed everything for. The best part? Sabrina had no idea, because I had blocked her from every possible way of contacting me. She could rot in her own mess. One final message, a random number, a single text. I miss you. I made a mistake. Let's talk. I laughed, deleted it, and never looked back. She took everything from me she left me, for dead, thinking she would move on to a better life. But in the end, she lost everything, and me, I finally got my life back. You would think that after losing everything, her money, her home, her reputation, Elise would finally stop. That maybe, just maybe, she would take responsibility for what she did. But no, people like her don't learn. They don't change. They just get more desperate. And I was about to witness her downfall in real time. A month after I ignored her pathetic attempt to talk, she tried again. This time, she showed up. It was a Saturday. I had finally started feeling like myself again, working out, going out with friends, making plans for my future. I was moving on. Then I heard a knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I looked through the peephole, my stomach twisted. Elise? She looked like a completely different person. Gone was the confident, put-together woman I once knew. She was thin, disheveled, and wearing clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in weeks. Her eyes were sunken and bloodshot, her hair greasy and unkempt. For a second, I just stood there, staring. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This was the woman who had lived a life of luxury on my dime. The woman who had laughed in my face when she got caught. She knocked again, weaker this time. Liam? Please? I just need to talk. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed at me to slam the door in her face. But a sliver of something, maybe pity, maybe morbid curiosity, made me unlock the deadbolt. I opened the door, but only as far as the chain lock would allow. What do you want, Elise? I asked, my voice flat. Her voice cracked. I have nowhere else to go. I almost laughed. Nowhere else to go? She was the one who burned every bridge she ever had. She was the one who stole, lied, and betrayed everyone around her. And now, when the world had finally given up on her, she came crawling back to me. No, I said, my voice firm. Absolutely not. She tried to cry, but the tears seemed forced, almost rehearsed. She tried to tell me she had made a mistake, that she was lost and confused, that Jordan, the guy she had left me for, had abandoned her. The second he found out about all her lies, that the other men she had scammed had cut her off completely, that she had nowhere to go, no money, no friends. And you know what? That part was true. But then she tried to turn it around on me. Liam, I was so hurt that you never paid attention to me, she whined, her voice dripping with false sincerity. I felt like I didn't matter. I thought you didn't love me anymore. I blinked, incredulous. So, your solution was to steal from me and run off with another man? She flinched, but quickly recovered. I wasn't thinking straight. I was scared. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Even now, even with nothing left, she still wouldn't take responsibility. She still tried to manipulate me, to make me feel guilty for her actions. I stared at her for a long moment, letting my gaze rake over her pathetic, broken form. Then I said the words that finally broke her. You don't deserve my forgiveness. Her face crumpled, and for a brief second, I thought I saw genuine pain in her eyes. Liam, please. I didn't give her a chance to finish. I slammed the door in her face and locked it. Then I leaned against the door, my heart pounding, and finally allowed myself to feel relief. For the first time in months, I felt peace. I thought that was the end of it. I thought she would finally give up and disappear forever. I was wrong. A few days later, I got a call from my bank. Apparently, someone had tried to access my personal account. They failed the security questions. They failed the backup verification. And when the bank employee read the name of the person who had tried it, it was Elise. I was beyond done. I contacted my lawyer and filed for a restraining order immediately. She had already stolen enough from me. I wasn't about to give her another chance. The funny thing about people like Elise is they never think they'll get caught. But when they finally do, they go down in flames. I had already exposed everything she did to my friends, family, and our entire social circle. But I hadn't expected her own family to turn on her too. Apparently, after I sent them the proof of her fraud, her parents disowned her. Her mother called me, her voice trembling with grief and shame. "We always feared she'd do something like this," she sobbed, "but we never thought she'd take it this far." Then she made a public post on Facebook distancing herself from Elise. "We are heartbroken and disgusted by Elise's actions. We offer our sincerest apologies to anyone she has hurt." The comments under that post were brutal. Everyone she had ever scammed, every person she had used, came forward to expose her. By the time it was over, Elise was a ghost. No home, no money, no friends, no future. And you know what? She deserved every bit of it. For the first time in a long time, I could finally breathe again. The fraud case against her was moving forward, and with my lawyer's help, I was able to recover some of my stolen money. More importantly, I had rescheduled my surgery. My family stepped in to help with the costs, and I was finally getting the medical care I had sacrificed everything for. The best part? Elise had no idea. Because I had blocked her from every possible way of contacting me, she could rot in her own mess. She took everything from me. She left me for dead, thinking she would move on to a better life. But in the end, she lost everything. And me? I finally got my life back. This is the only story I can write. I feel I have reached my goal.